Good morning, beautiful people. In this video, I'm going to talk about my experience drinking ayahuasca for 4 nights in a row. I told a couple people that I went down into Costa Rica to do this, and multiple people responded with asking me to do a video about it. And I had some people in the comments also, because I mentioned it on my social media, and some people told me you should do a video and share your experience. So that's what I'm going to do. So this was like a couple weeks ago that I went down there to do this. And I didn't want to do the video like immediately after, because I kind of just wanted to like let it all process and let the whole experience just kind of sink in. So first off, it's not fun. Like, it is not a recreational fun kind of drug or anything like that at all. In fact, it's very like scary and uncomfortable, at least in my experience. For the most part, there was a couple parts where I did feel like this vibration of ecstasy and euphoria, but that was only for like short periods of time. The majority of my experience doing it, it was not fun at all. So I'm going to tell you what happened on some of the nights. And some of you might not believe this because it's freaking crazy and weird. And if you don't believe it, go drink ayahuasca 4 nights in a row, and then you'll probably believe what I'm going to tell you. So first off, I made contact with like multi-dimensional beings, aliens, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know exactly how to describe it. Extra dimensional beings, multi-dimensional beings, aliens, plant spirit, the spirit of the plant. I don't know. There's a lot of different things that people call the entities that you come into contact with when you're under the influence of this drug, or plant, I should say. I don't really want to call it a drug. I'd rather call it a plant medicine, because that's what the locals and the natives call it. And it's been around for thousands of years. It contains DMT, dimethyltryptamine. If you take DMT, you go to other dimensions pretty much. You start going multi-dimensional. DMT is found in all kinds of plants and all kinds of stuff. Now, DMT normally, it's not ingestible, but there's another plant that they mix it with, and the other plant has what's called a monoamine oxidase or something like that. It's an MAO inhibitor, the scientific word, and it makes the DMT able to be digested and then processed, so you get the multi-dimensional effect, which is crazy in itself, because down in the rainforest in the jungle, there's like hundreds of thousands of plants, and like, how did these people that have been there for thousands of years, that didn't have science and technology like we do, how did they figure out that one plant contains an MAO inhibitor and this other plant contains DMT? So like, if you, I think it was in the Joe Rogan podcast, he was talking about how if you ask these local shamans, they say, or if you ask them how they figured this out, they say the forest told them how to do it. So they were very connected. So when I'm doing this, like, I took it in a shot glass. Doesn't taste very good. And I start to feel something, I start to feel like a little body high from it. You start getting little visuals, like you might see tracers a little bit. You might even, when you close your eyes, you might start seeing like geometric shapes and patterns, kind of like when you take psychedelic mushrooms. So I start feeling like this kind of feels similar to a mushroom trip. And I close my eyes, and then I feel the presence of some kind of entity come over my body. And then all of a sudden I could see the shape. Like, I was closing my eyes, and it was like a dream. Like, I started dreaming this, but it was like I was fully awake and conscious, but it felt like I was like in my dream but still awake, because it's like I'm like, DMT starting to kick in, so I'm going multidimensional. And this being comes over me, and I get this feeling of like ecstasy and euphoria all throughout my body. So it was kind of scary, but not really, because I felt this like euphoric, loving vibration coming from the being. The being, it was very dark, so I could see the outline of it, but I couldn't see it in too much detail because it was dark. Comes over me, puts some kind of like measuring device in my mouth. I think it was running diagnostics on my body. And it kind of sits there for a while, and it's like I could see it. It had like hands. It had like multiple arms, and it was like checking things all around my body. It seemed like it was running diagnostics. getting a data reading. And that lasted a little while, and then the being kind of went away, and then started just getting visions of all kinds of stuff going really, really quickly through my brain, like visions and feelings and emotions and memories, all the way back from when I was like a little baby all the way up until now. All kinds of stuff was just going through my head really, really quickly. And it took me on a trip of all kinds of different feelings and emotions of things that I've experienced all through my life. Some of them were not very pleasant things. Some of it was, it'll show you things, like it'll show you times in life where you were a jerk, and it'll show it to you from like a third party perspective so that you can learn from the experience. And while it's doing this, sometimes there's a lot of discomfort, because like the drink itself can kind of upset your stomach, and sometimes people get diarrhea from it. A lot of times people vomit. So everyone around, all the people around you that are also doing it, there's like a little bucket next to your bed, because a lot of people vomit. And when they're going through this experience of living through all these emotions and these visions and these things, I think what happens is like these energies, these negative energies that are trapped in your body from those traumatic experiences are getting released, and then they flush out through your body through diarrhea or vomiting. So people are like vomiting all around you. I mean, not everyone, but some people did vomit, some people didn't. I didn't vomit. There was one night where I did have to get up and go to the bathroom, but for the most part, there was only a couple nights where my stomach hurt. The first couple nights it wasn't too bad. The third night it was really bad. So I'll talk more about the third night, but that's kind of what it did to me. So it's kind of like a mushroom trip, but way more crazier, way more intense. And like I straight up had contact with some kind of beings, and they were doing shit to my body. Really weird, really crazy. So the next night after that, I took the shot. Oh, and I took multiple shots the first night I took 2 shots. The second night, I also took 2 shots. The third night, I took 1 shot, and it hit me so hard. And again, the first thing that happened was that same kind of being came over my body and was just checking things, like running diagnostics, taking readings all over my body. And then that was the first thing that happened again. It goes away, and then all of a sudden, I start having like muscle spasms, like my muscles start twitching, and I start kind of like convulsing a little bit. Stomach's hurting really bad. And I think it was that being that was running all the tests, started doing something all over my body, like a surgery, a psychic surgery. I don't know, something happened. So I'm going through like an extremely discomforting, painful experience for like hours. This lasted like 2.5, 3 hours. And my body is just like twitching. My muscles are spasming, my muscles are contracting, my stomach is hurting. And this lasted for like 3 hours or so. So as I'm doing this, like I'm burning through all the calories in my body. The whole process of this, having to like tighten up my muscles and just kind of bear with it, burned through all the calories in my body. After it was kind of done and it started to wear off a little, I tried to stand up and walk. Couldn't even stand up and walk. I just fell over. And I had to lay there for like another 30 to 45 minutes. And like the shamans came over and started giving me like water with electrolytes in it to help me kind of get back to life. And after that, it was like I needed food, I needed water. I couldn't even walk. Like that's how bad my body was. It completely destroyed me to the point where I couldn't even stand up and walk. I would try to stand up and I would just get really dizzy and lightheaded and just fall back over. They had to take me back to my room and in the little golf cart thing. Then after the whole 2.5, 3 hours of like muscle spasms and burning through all my calories, my brain began processing data, like all these memories, all these emotions, all these past experiences really, really quickly, like a slideshow just of visions and photos and visuals of things that I've experienced in life, just going at an incredible speed, just one after another, and my brain was just processing all this data super quickly. It felt like my brain got like an upgrade or something. It's because the amount of data that was processing through my brain about everything I had experienced from my childhood all the way up until now was just processing incredibly fast. And then it just kind of stopped, and it was like, whoa, like this awakening moment where it just kind of organized all this data and like kind of put it all into perspective, and kind of showed me things that I had done in the past life that were damaging to my health, that were not serving my best interest. And a lot of those things were like drinking alcohol and partying and staying up all night and stuff like that. Just a lot of stuff I was, a lot of the lifestyle decisions I was making. It kind of put a lot of those into perspective and showed me that these things were not serving my best interest. And the whole experience of this, like all the visions, the memories, and bringing up the emotions and having to like relive things, like having to face things, it's not fun at all. It is not fun. It's not a recreational drug. It's like a plant medicine. And I really do think it does something where it takes these energies and these emotions that were trapped in your body, and then it makes you relive them or face them so that you can overcome them, and then they release out of your body again in the form of diarrhea or vomiting. Or sometimes, maybe even other ways. I don't know if all the pains I was feeling around my body, if that was that being that was like doing some kind of treatment or surgery or something. I don't know, but it's still affecting me today. Like I think it's been over a week since I did the ayahuasca. The people there told me it'll stay in your body for a good 20 something days after, and I'm still kind of like shaken from it. I'm still a little like emotionally unstable from it, and I'm still like a little like I don't feel the same as I did before prior to doing it. And then the fourth night, I was still so drained from the previous night that I took one shot of it, and I kind of started to feel it, and then I just kind of got this feeling, like this intuition that's like, you don't really need to take a bunch more of this because your body's already really destroyed from the previous night, and it already kind of did what it needed to do. And during the ayahuasca ceremony, because again, I did it 4 nights, and each night it's like a ceremony. And I don't have any of this on film because it was dark. It was very dark during the ceremonies, and they didn't want people filming because they when you do it under the supervision of these shamans, if you're trying to film and stuff, it kind of throws off the vibration and it interrupts the ceremony. But they had different shamans each night, and each night a different shaman would make the brew, which again, the ayahuasca, it's like a tea or a brew is what they call it, because when they make it, they boil these different plants in water, and there's like a certain way of making it. It's kind of like the way that they described it. It's like when you go to Italy and how each family, they have their own Italian food, and each family has their own secret recipe for pasta sauce. Excuse me. They said that's what it's like down in these indigenous cultures down in the rainforest. It's like the families, the healer of the family, the shaman, they have their own unique way that they each make it. So each time, each shaman that makes it is a little bit different experience. So as I'm going through this, like you can still kind of hear what's going around you in the room and stuff like that. Most of the time, sometimes people completely go unconscious and have an experience while they're completely out, like asleep. That didn't happen to me. I was conscious in the room, but still kind of having the experience at the same time. So I could see what was happening around me. So people were crying, people were screaming, people were vomiting. One person, he started freaking out like really bad, like to the point where he was almost getting violent, and the shamans had to pick him up. 4 shamans came and picked him up, one grabbed each arm and leg and had to take him out. He got possessed or something. But he said after the next day, when he was talking about it, he said, yeah, he straight up got possessed, and he was screaming and flipping out. It was kind of scary. And then what else happened? So yeah, again, so there was some parts of it where I did have like these euphoric kind of body high feelings, but the majority of it was not euphoric at all. It was like very disturbing things. and lots of visions and things, and a lot of discomfort, pain in your body, and nauseous kind of feelings like in your stomach, because the brew kind of upsets your stomach. Usually not right away. It's usually like after you've gone through the experience for a while. And like I said, I think because of what it does is like all the emotional energies and the negative energies that are trapped in your body, when they get released, then your body needs to flush those out. So that's why you get the stomach pains, the diarrhea, the vomiting. And then while I was there, they have like a diet you do. So that, you got to cut out, well, you don't have to, but they recommend that you do this, is you cut out things like red meat. You cut out pork, you don't drink any alcohol or smoke any cigarettes, and you got to get off all kinds of, if you're on certain medications, you got to cut out the medications. So you want to have your body clean when you're going through this, because certain things, certain medications, and if your body's really toxic, it's not going to be a good experience. In fact, they recommend you stop eating completely like 5 hours before you do the ayahuasca. And then the ayahuasca itself could last anywhere from like a few hours to like 6 or 7 or 8 hours. The night that I had the really uncomfortable experience, like with all the pain in my body, my muscles were twitching, that one lingered on. Like I felt that one all the way until the next morning. I was still kind of feeling it. So I mean, it could even last up to like 12 hours, depending on the experience. But each time it was different, and they said it's never the same. There's no experience that will ever be the same. Every time you do it, it's different. Okay, that's all I could think of for about this ayahuasca experience. Oh, one more thing. So about the place I went. So we did do it under medical supervision. The place that I went to do it, they were a licensed medical facility, and the whole thing was, supervised like that. And then the shamans that administer the ayahuasca, they're also all part of the company. They're all approved by the country to actually do this and have people come in. So I wanted to do it, do it under medical supervision, of course. And then it's illegal in USA. It's really hard to find places to do it in USA because this stuff competes with big pharmaceutical companies. So, I mean, they got people down there like curing cancer and all kinds of stuff. So, of course, that's illegal in the USA because it would compete with the big pharmaceutical monopoly that wants to sell you pills for the rest of your life and keep you sick. All right, that is it for this video. I gotta go. See you later. And remember, if you like the kind of content that I share, please hit the little subscribe button and get notifications when I upload videos. And leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts.